I think we're ready to get this little discussion underway. I think we wanted to get together and give a little update. Chuck and I talked to some architects last week, see if we want to head in that direction, and they gave us some thoughts, what we could do to the building up here. So we basically want to get some input from you folks, if you think that's the direction we should be headed.
Yeah, it's on. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can hear it.
I can hear it. Anyway, we Chuck can do it, I can do it. We gave him a tour of the building. Chuck told him what he needed, where he needed it, and like that. And they recommended a couple of companies that do metal buildings, the two in particular that they deal with.
Right.
So our initial thoughts is get step by step, get a plan for the building, get a builder lined up, and then use our architects to help us with specific of the codes. We realize we gotta have the building sprinkled now, and other safety things, the electrical end of it, and whatever Chuck needs. And we're talking about some public works section of the building. I think Chuck's got things laid out in his mind, at least.
I do. I think that's kind of what I was hoping we'd address a little bit here today also.
Yep.
So just a little bit of background. Last fall, the board and administration kind of put it on me to get a work group together and try to decide what we wanted to do with the building. The building's kind of project itself, phase 2 is kind of stalled for some time now. Lots of changes in the order, and the budget has been floating all over. So we wanted to kind of take a step back, kind of get some people together and think through whether we should be rehabbing what we had or replacing. And then the second part was, what do we want to do with this building? If we will look in the future 5 years, what are we thinking, the overall plan is? Let's get the building set up now for whatever we think we might be doing within a 5-year window. Maybe expanding services there, added storage, maybe the combination of some department heads. Who knows what the overall outcome will be, but I'm hoping we kind of address a little bit of that today, and we have some kind of a direction moving forward, because that'll make everything easier trying to figure out what we need in the building, what additions we should be making electrical wise or water wise, that type of a thing. I think what happened was we had a really good group of people put together for the work group, and we did a couple of tours, and the consensus almost immediately, once you get inside that building, was this really needs to be replaced, not tried to be rehabbed in any way. So the first part of what we were tasked with was pretty simple. The board, it was a pretty quick and resounding, we should just replace this building and start fresh, which also opens up opportunities to expand it or change the layout a little bit, however we choose to move forward with it. The second part, it seemed like we, as a group, working group, and I think we all kind of decided that we really needed some guidance moving forward. We were all kind of throwing around some ideas of what we may or may not want to do with the building, with the property over there. But I think what I chose to do was kind of have everybody take a step back from the work group and kind of reach out to you guys, the board and administration, to kind of develop a plan moving forward. I just think we need some guidance. I don't think it was the task of the work group to decide what the future was going to be. I think we were tasked with figuring out how to make that future happen. So my overall thought was, well, let's take a step back and try to get some guidance, do a little brainstorming, and this is what's come of it. We have some committee members here, Mac and Pulsifer, George Barker, and Gina Snyder is from my recycling committee. So we've got some pretty good brains here. I just would like to get some kind of a formal or informal discussion going about what I know I have an idea what I'd like to see happen, and I think it would be beneficial to the town, but I think we need to hear from everybody and see what they think moving forward and what you might be envisioning for the building itself.
Well, I think frankly, it's more important, you're there,
Yeah.
we're down here.
I don't know if any of us.
Tell us what you need.
Well,
Yeah.
my thing is that, from a standpoint of what I need in my current, current title, is pretty straightforward. Basically, it's just whatever's already there, just not leaking with siding on it, upgraded electrical, proper drainage. You know, my thing is that, and why I'm reaching out and try to get this work group together, get us together, is do we want to think a little bit bigger over there? Do we want to maybe, you know, add a dedicated public works? I don't envision a public works being some big monstrosity as far as that. It would be, you know, a couple of small pieces of equipment to be able to take care of town properties, that type of a thing, a truck, plow, that type of a thing. But it would, you know, any major projects would still be, you know, vendor-based as far as that. I think it doesn't make sense for the town now or even 30 years from now to get into buying bulldozers, excavators. That does not make sense.
Right.
But, you know, taking care of some local town properties, you know, mowing of Mitchell Field, you know, upkeep of certain things, I mean, I think that could fall in that department. My thought was, and, you know, maybe this is how we start out, but my thought was to take my job and the road commissioners, once that is vacated through retirement or however in the future, kind of combine them together and create a public works director or whatever we want to call it at that time. We could mess with the schedule a little bit, how that would work, how we would basically take the employees that are next door, recategorize them just as public works employees as far as that. And that would kind of free us up to be a little more responsive in town. I think having a quicker response, and maybe a little more dedicated response when problems arise, you know, it's as simple as street signage. I think the road should be driven once a year anyways, and inspected. I do a couple of charts that categorize all the equipment next door. I do a analysis every year of, you know, of aging out and all that type of thing. I track everything. And I think you can have an index like that. I'm not sure if there one that even exists now, but some kind of a dedicated index like that, just for the biggest part of public works, which is, you know, the biggest asset the town has is the roads, really, as far as, you know, public works goes. So I just think there could be more focus on prevention, upkeep, you know, as simple as striping, making sure the town is swept properly. I used to ride motorcycles. This town's not the best as far as getting the dirt off the roads at times. But, you know, it just seems like we could make that position a more dedicated position. I think it would be a better service to the town overall to have someone that was maybe a little more accessible, and a little more responsive to what's going on in town. That's my thought anyways.
So my thoughts on the having public works combined sort of along the same lines. I don't think the winter sanding or anything is anything we want to take on.
No.
Not to that kind of scale. And I don't think any of us are know all, see all, so it's kind of hard to, I mean, for example, you've got the loading dock, you used to have scales, I mean, we used to do all the recycling stuff.
Right.
Now we compact it and send it out.
Yep.
Is that going to change at
No.
some point, or is that?
I don't foresee that changing. I think when the town went to zero stream, I think that's basically the future moving forward.
We're going back.
What infrastructure there is for recycling has basically been tailored to single stream.
Yeah.
Up until, I just went to one seminar, but every seminar I went to up to beginning of COVID was touting and promoting compacted trash going to MRFs being sorted as far as that. I think the way the town is currently set up is, for now and foreseeable future, the way things will be handled as far as that. On that note, though, whether the town continues to recycle or not is another subject altogether.
Yeah.
There's monetary considerations in there. Gina might be able to speak to the EPR a little bit, not to get off topic too much, but there is an opportunity there to kind of claw back
Yeah.
some funds that we
Yeah.
spend on recycling. Again, that's something that you, as a group, are gonna have to decide whether we enter into that at some point here or not. I will be glad to carry out, but it's gonna be a select board decision as far as that.
Okay, so the way I see this, your group, is that you're going to be asking a lot of questions, not just of us, but of the community, of, you know, of the different committees, of town management, of,
As far as,
as the direction, as far as combining
yes.
departments, as far as,
And I'm not advocating for me. and I'm just gonna say it, my whole idea is that I will step down from my position.
Yep.
I think if the town decides to take these two positions, meld them together into one position, they should have the free hand to hire whoever they want to establish and run the Public Works Department.
Sure.
If it's something I'm interested in, I would gladly
You're not
apply.
gonna wiggle out of this that easily, I'll tell you.
No, but I'm saying, I am more than willing to right now, help get us on that road, because I think that's a valuable path to go down, I really do.
However, that question needs to be answered before you design the building.
Well,
So-
I think we can, yes, we need some vision moving forward, and maybe not a concrete plan, but where does the select board
Right.
want to go moving forward?
I would like to see some flexibility, so we're not stuck with something that we're dreaming the future to be, and it turns out that it's not possible, or it isn't going to happen that way, that we have the flexibility with the building to, move things around a little.
But I think, we're talking about the original footprint.
Yep,
And so whatever we do fits on that footprint, including the old loading dock.
the loading dock.
Yeah.
So
that'd
we
be
have, I'm sorry, we have talked about enclosing the loading dock. So if you kind of take a step back, and if you could, in my thought process or vision of if the town was to combine and establish a small public works over there, you would be able to take the loading dock area and use that for your warehousing of all the materials that we have to palletize, to
Yep.
ship.
Bottles.
Bottles, cans, all the e-waste, we have to hold anywhere from 12 to 24 pallets before we can ship those. And it would also give us a place to put the pallets of batteries that we collected outside of the main building, into a more a separate area.
Would you have a door, loading dock
There
door?
would be, so there would be a loading dock door to match the large door on the back side. And we'd also have keep the two interior doors. One of the third doors would be eliminated, but we'd keep the two interior doors, so we'd have inside access to the warehouse.
Okay, yeah,
As far as that.
yeah, okay.
We did talk the other day, when we were walking with the architects, by my office, we built a garage door size drop-off area there. When we were replacing the compactors,
Yeah.
we had to have some way of taking care of either recycling or MSW while they were replacing those.
Yeah.
We chose to they did one compactor at a time, and so that way we always had one compactor doing the trash,
Right.
the yucky stuff.
Right.
And then we processed all the recycling through the side of the building, into the building, and then, and packaged into a dumpster
Yeah,
out
yeah,
back.
yeah.
So initially, when we do redo the building, I am all for putting a garage door there. It will hardly ever be used, but we're already 6 years into a 20-year
This is
cycle on
the
the.
flexibility I'm talking about.
Right, so you gotta
Yeah.
think ahead a little bit. So, we're already 6 years into the 20-year compactors. So, at some point, within the next 15 to 20 years, we're gonna have to replace those again, more than likely.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So we have to be able to plan ahead. The way we did it this last time, it was way smoother than I thought it was gonna go,
Yeah,
but it worked well. So I would rather plan for it now than cut a hole in a building 15 years from now that, well, let's just plan for it ahead.
planning and coordination go a long ways.
It's just kind of thinking of the whole picture as far as that.
Yep.
But my thought process is if we moved all the packaging to the northern side of the building, took all the warehousing from the southern side of the building, but moved it one step over into where the new enclosed warehouse area, that would free up the entire southern end of the building for any kind of public works storage, a sign shop, whatever we needed to do to make things smoother and easier in town.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
could have a dedicated sign area, sign shop, whatever you wanna call it. Some tools where, there'd be, a welding station, I'm sure we need that at some point, but a place to put a small tractor, some implements, that type of
Yeah.
thing. Keep things under cover and maintain
Yeah.
some maintenance area
Yeah.
as far as that.
I'm liking it.
I,
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah, we don't need this committee, we got it all set.
Yeah,
I just don't think we need to go gangbusters.
Yeah,
Harpswell
right.
does not need that. We
Right.
have very good vendors, and we have a good process now of handling any big jobs as far as that.
Right.
It's just having a centralized place where all the stuff can be collected and put into.
Yep,
And having
exactly.
one area, and it just seems like it would be easier and simpler and on a more responsive department if we was to combine some of that thing. And there'd be some shuffling.
Centralized.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Centralized.
Centralized, yeah.
Yeah.
And I just think that I'm not gonna go down that road. But, I don't know, it just seems like, in the next couple of years, it kind of makes sense, the way things are kind of going. to kind of just do a combination of that. There would be some shuffling of personnel next door,
Yep.
but I think we could make it happen and just be a more responsive department overall for the community.
Responsive and cost-effective are the two things I'm looking for.
I think that would help, yeah, I think that would make a difference too, yes.
Yep.
So steps forward. Where do we start?
Well, I was going to offer,
He was hoping we'd tell him.
I know when the Emergency Services Building Group got together, one of the first things they did was they met with an architect to talk about operations. What are the current operations and what are your space needs?
Yes.
So there's a lot of space planning involved, but maybe you've kind of done that, Chuck. It sounds like
I
you
kinda
have
have
a
a-
good
I
idea
have
of
a
what
pretty good
you
idea,
need
yeah.
for your operational space, and then it was what's left over. If we put the
Right.
same size building there, because that started out as an incinerator
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
And then it was decommissioned as an incinerator, but we kept the same size building.
Yeah.
You used to have a lot of recyclable materials that you were storing in the building for
Yeah.
long periods of time. We don't do that as much anymore. So I think the discussion was, how much space are you going to need for what you currently do and what you expect to do from a recycling
Right.
and solid waste disposal standpoint? And then what might be left if we keep the same footprint? And how might that space be used? Storage, public works? I mean, I think these are all good ideas. So I think it was to get some input from committee members about, how should the town approach this? Does this
Right.
sound like a good direction to be going in? Do we need to bring an architect in to start to work on some of these details? We do have a lot of information that, from our engineering firm on mechanical systems, electrical systems,
Yeah.
is that gonna be information that we can use during this process, or are we gonna have to start over? I think that's kind of a big question.
Does it need to be an insulated,
Ew.
heated building? I mean, those kinds of things.
Does it need to be as high as it currently? I mean, just kind of the size and scope.
Right.
Yeah.
Conceptually, and then moving that to a design phase and a build phase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have actually talked, I think Mackin brought it up actually, about the building could actually be higher. And gain more space that way if you wanted to put like a mezzanine down one side and have,
Oh.
if you wanted to add more storage capability that way.
I was going the other way.
I mean, I think the loading dock should be enclosed one way or another and
Yeah.
separate out that type of warehousing.
Yeah.
But if the town had storage needs, you could you could possibly have some kind of a mezzanine on one area where you could, put stuff up. We have a forklift. I mean, we have capabilities of storing stuff up, not right on the floor. There's options as far
Yep.
as that.
Yeah.
I think you said also that the mezzanine could be a place for an office.
I mean, we may want to do something like that, fold the office into the actual building, take a part of the mezzanine and make that the office, and, omit the office from where it is. It just depends on how far, the whole plan is to save as much money, but get a good product for the town moving forward and the taxpayer.
Well, come with the office, where it is, you interface with the public a lot easier, right?
We do, and.
But maybe you don't want to do that.
Well, no, it's not that, but I can literally sit at my desk, and with the placement of that door, I can head off a lot of problems.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It does help to have.
Oversight.
Yeah, it does help, we don't have someone out there all the time, someone, there's
Right.
always something going on.
Right.
So you can kind of look down through and head stuff off.
Well, it's my point. I mean, you need to sort of think about the placement of that office. You were talking about putting it in the mezzanine maybe, but that would certainly change the dynamics.
It would change it and, but it's still something to chew on, I think, as far as that. It seems like, and I've done a lot of brainstorming and thinking about it, but, I'm not the end of the road here as far as what I think, but it just seems like if we were to, kind of break it into, packaging and palletization and that type of thing, processing on that north side. South side dedicated more towards, public works as far as that.
Yeah.
And then, once you start putting stuff in that building, it looks big, but it gets small fast.
Yes,
Because you
right.
still have to have pass to run the forklift safely, all that type of thing, I've been thinking about possibly moving where the bottles are, just to make that more accessible to the forklift, because right now you have to have quite a swing to get in there and to do some of the processes that are there.
Right.
We've been making changes all along, ever since I've been there, and right now, we're kind of going through a transition a lot of new staff coming in, so I'm trying to kind of refocus and simplify some things over there. It's a good opportunity to kind of
Good chance,
reset
yeah.
overall,
Yep.
and then get everybody on the same page moving forward with the new crew.
What's the current square footage of the building?
It's 50 by 80, I believe, is the building, so it's 4,000 square feet, is that right? That's my quick check math. I think it's 50 by 80. Did we measure that?
We did a couple years ago.
Yeah. It's not
It's
as,
gotten smaller.
it's not as big as it appears.
right, yeah,
Once you're in
yeah.
it.
Right.
And once you get a station set up, you need a certain amount of area to do this function and that function. And we keep, like NiCad batteries, lithium batteries, we keep separated from everything, because if one of those goes off on a weekend, we're not there. You gotta protect that. So that's part of the thing too, is to move that process out of the main building out into the loading dock area. That type of a thing.
Compartmentizing things.
That's a bit, a growing safety issue is the whole battery issue. And where we do collect them and store them, having a separate place.
Yep.
And I think we would want to look into, with the architects, actually, that's something I should have thought of the other day, but making a dedicated, almost locker area for these pallets of batteries, these batteries, once they're ready to ship.
Any flammable liquids?
We don't have any hazmats on site. We're not licensed for that, which
Okay.
is, we just can't hold it there. We do have some gasoline, that type of thing, but
Yeah.
the batteries are a way more concern.
Okay.
And it's not so much, the cheaper they're making batteries cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, not better and better and better.
Yeah, right,
sometimes,
yeah.
So, it's always a concern for me. That can do a lot of damage if one of those batteries was to take off.
Yes.
Because they're palletized together, one goes off, they're all gonna go off.
Yeah, I've seen videos of
You can't put
batteries
it
going
out
out
once
too.
it's
Oh, yeah, you see, an EV go up, it's a process to put that out.
It's like a road flare. I
Yep.
mean, yeah, pretty hot.
Another idea, I wondered if your group wanted to go visit a couple sites, nearby, how other communities are handling their operations. Can
Yeah.
you learn something from that?
Road trip.
I know sometimes you have people visit your facility because they're looking at how you run the operation,
Yep.
but that might be helpful.
I think for what we do next door as far as material management and processing, I think we have it figured out really well. My own opinion, anyways. I think back when they first built that facility, kudos to those people for laying it out the way they did. They really took advantage of the property in the proper way as far as that.
Yep.
But as it's, the main building has evolved. Like you mentioned, there was an incineration in there for a long time, and balers, and it took up a lot of room and a lot of, a lot of things. There's a lot of abandoned electrical in that
Yes,
building. There's
definitely.
we had an incident a while back. There was an accident. We did some damage to the electrical system, and the electricians that came in and looked at everything were just shaking their head. They could not believe the condition of what is in there, and it took them a while to figure out how the power was getting from A to B, because there's so many boxes it travels through to get to the compactors.
So you're all cut over to the three-phase, no more rotophaser?
No, that'll be eliminated, so, and we'll probably end up having to have some VFDs for soft starts, because you don't want direct bang, three-phase,
yep.
wearing those motors out, so
Yep.
you use a VFD as a soft start,
Yep,
and that helps, so you don't wipe out your compactors as far as that.
yep.
But, I've learned a lot in the last 8 years thinking about that. I thought I knew a little bit, but I know quite a bit more, but, I don't know, I kind of have a thought process in my head, and I really would just like everybody to kind of, toss around any ideas or brainstorm, what do we think? I think the footprint is the footprint, though. We don't have a lot of room to expand or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's taking advantage of what we already have. We don't, if we start pouring concrete, digging stuff up, costs are, you think they're expensive now, it's gonna get worse.
Yeah.
But it's, I think we take advantage of the footprint we have. And then it's just, a matter of, where does the town wanna go, I guess.
So the foundation is fairly solid?
Oh, yeah.
So not
It's like a
bust-
bomb shelter.
Not breaking up?
Bunker.
Yeah,
It's like 16 inches wide.
Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy how they built
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
it's all right, glad they did.
Letty Wooden.
Yeah,
We are gonna have to jackhammer the floor up and new drainage put in. All the drainage in there is collapsed.
huh,
We had it CCTV'd last fall, I think it was, when Weber's did it.
Yep.
And they could only go 2 or 3 feet in from the T on all 3 directions.
Wow.
So it's just old, I think it's cast pipe by the looks of it, and it just has collapsed on itself.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's gonna have to happen regardless of what happens. So, the thing is that if we're gonna do a process like that, that's why we wanted some insight. Where do we wanna go with this building, what do we wanna use it for? Because we're gonna have to upgrade the drainage. Right now, the drainage goes into the septic tank.
Yep,
It needs to be separate with an oil separator.
yep.
Into its own holding tank, so oil separated and into its own tank. You know, especially if we do go down the road of some kind of public works, where you're doing maintenance, that type of thing, you don't want nothing to get away from you, have a fuel spill, something like that, and have
Yeah.
it contaminated. So, you know, now's the time to think, what do we want to really use this building for? What do we want to do with, you know, shuffling of departments or whatever, that's above my pay grade, though. I have a vision, but that's, you know,
Chuck,
yes.
have we any knowledge of other of towns who are growing at our rate, our population, so forth? What is sort of the best practice for the work that we're doing and where we're going? This is an effort to think about the future.
Yeah,
And I know you've developed some discrete ideas about,
Yeah.
with the facilities we have and all the constraints, but do we have any knowledge of sort of how other towns anywhere in the country who have similar fact patterns to our town, how do they deal with it? Are there associations who've developed models that are,
Yeah.
quote, best practices?
So I haven't officially looked at anything like that. I know in a work group, we had discussed population growth and that type of thing.
That's
Kind of
right.
extrapolated it out a little bit.
Yeah,
And, you know, the big thing is that, one of the good things next door is that even if we have more trash or more recycling, we can always up the schedule of removal.
Yep.
So, you know, we're kind of set up in a way where we're already somewhat we can accommodate, you know, a certain amount of population increase with the current infrastructure as far as that. It's just a matter of scheduling for the most part. So, the big thing is that, you know, you're in a town that's semi-built out. I don't envision the town building more town roads for the most part, that type of a thing. So I think, you know, the department-wise, I don't know how much more would fall on the public works, unless the town would start building some kind of infrastructure they wanted taken care of and looked after that type of a thing. But as far as the recycling and transfer station and all that, that just is more of a scheduling, I think accommodation would take care of a lot of that up until a certain point.
good.
And I think we did talk, well, I think
We
we
did.
bandied around population there for a while, and just looking at what the last 10 years of what it had been, and
I think, Kevin, you said it wasn't growing very fast.
It's pretty stagnant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the permanent residents,
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
we can gauge that pretty easily,
Right.
but,
My road's a perfect example. Probably there's dozen houses that are part-time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if anything, that is what's changing, is there's less permanent people and more seasonal people
Right.
here, if anything. So I think whereas it may have been a consistent use all throughout the year before, now we're seeing more surges in the summertime and less surges in the wintertime. You would know better than me, Chuck. You
I
know.
will say that window has increased.
It has.
We're getting multiple colored license plates in town quicker.
The
Yeah.
shoulder
Yeah.
seasons.
Yeah,
So,
that season has grown.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we have people that come just for Thanksgiving, you know, that type of thing, and you know, they're staying into October really. The whole Labor Day.
It's all gone.
It's
That was-
well past, yeah.
Yeah.
And a part of that is just, you know, the climate and, you know, it's, we don't get that cold that quick anymore.
Except for last year.
and then and the short-term rentals
Short-term rentals
add
are,
another whole dynamic to it. There's people
do.
that don't know what they recycle, don't know how to recycle, or it just changes the entire dynamic of the community.
yeah, and it all depends on where they come from.
Yep,
You know, we get people that come from out of state that are spot on.
Yeah.
I mean, they go above and beyond, better than we do, in some cases.
Huh.
But there's other towns that, you know, you can tell that they just don't have any, they don't do it as
Don't-
far as that.
don't know or don't care either, yeah.
That's part of it. They're on vacation,
Yeah, right,
you know.
don't bother.
Do we have a handle on short-term rentals? What is the volume? How many of them
No.
there are?
Don't dare ask that question.
No, that's a naughty word around here.
Yeah.
We try to stay away from it.
Well, we had a committee that was trying to determine that, and sorry to say, they were thinking of maybe some sort of regulation. And there were members of the community that just didn't like the way it was going, so that committee was disbanded, so.
It struck me as important information, though, because it bears so.
Well,
much on the house.
it's important for a lot of reasons. It would be a nice answer to have, yeah.
You can go on sites that tell you how many VRBOs are there, that we have in the town of Harpswell. Last time I knew, it was over 400.
There's an interesting article in the Anchor, just came
That's
out.
interesting.
It's worth a read. But it supports a lot of what I've said in the past anyways, but that's another subject that we could.
But, well,
Don't go, we're not going down that road.
Harpswell's always been a rental community.
It has, but not to this extent, I don't think.
No,
You're forcing, that article, when you read it, you're losing long-term rentals to short-term rentals because it's so lucrative.
when did that come out?
It was in my mailbox today, so.
What's that?
It was in my
Today.
mailbox.
Oh.
The
today.
new issue?
Yeah.
Oh,
The
It's a good
latest
article
one.
in there,
oh,
but, and for the record,
Interesting.
that short-term, my opinion anyways, that group that's put together, I think it wasn't handled the best,
Right,
Well,
unfortunately.
no,
I'll agree with that.
but most people took it the wrong way, though. Everybody thought they were gonna lose their jobs, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's
Yeah.
not what it is.
It caused mass hysteria.
Right.
That's what it did, so. We pulled the plug on it,
Yeah.
We could do better.
yeah. But I don't want any part of it.
Retire.
Yeah, once bitten.
But anyways, what's your thoughts? Do you see other uses for next door? We used to store the 2 town boats in there, but that's,
Yeah.
capacity-wise, it was always a bear. You were never gonna get one out if you needed it. Well,
No.
the way we have them stacked in there was crazy, and it really upset operations in there.
Yeah, no, I don't see town boats there.
Well, the new fire and rescue building will have at least one empty bay for a while. Yeah, I guess that's still the plan, right?
It'll have the airboat. The airboat needs to be stored in a
Yeah.
heater.
Yeah.
So it's finicky.
Yeah, but, wintertime, the airboat's the only one we need, because this year all the landings froze.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
couldn't have gotten anything out anyway.
Yeah.
But do you see, what about you, Matty? What do you see? Are you looking?
I agree with what you've said. The price of things isn't coming down, so, and we use that generator building to store a bunch of the stuff that you're talking about storing in the potential new public works building, and that generator building needs work at this point to be even safe. So in my mind, build it out now, because we're going to need it eventually, whether it's in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. I think it's gonna be close to the 5-year mark, but it's financially responsible to plan for the future and build it now before it doubles. What has it done in the last 5 years, 10
Yeah.
years? It's already doubled.
Yeah.
So it's only gonna happen again.
So square footage is easy. We can just say, let's build onto that extra part as far as that. It's accommodating what we want to do with the building. That
Right.
is what's gonna add cost to it, and we wanna make sure that we get the value out of that cost.
Right.
So if we're adding air movers and stuff like that, we wanna make sure that at some point the town moves to whatever formula they have figured out for the future as far as that.
I hate these types of things. I'll preface it with that. But what are your thoughts? You get a significant part of the population comes through that recycling center as it is now. There's been any thoughts to surveying the public to what they feel the future should be?
We could do something like that.
Yeah.
It's easy enough to put some kind of a survey out and see what kind of response you get as far as that.
That would be, I don't know how much use that is, that's
Well,
why.
You'll get 5,000 different opinions.
Right.
Do you want 5,000 different opinions, or do you want to put some a pointed question out there and see what kind of response you get to it?
That-
I think that's a better way to do it.
I think guiding it a little bit.
Right,
is
I
better
agree
than-
with you, Chuck,
We
you,
don't need a dog park in the middle of that building.
right.
That type of thing. Especially
Gee,
if
I
they're on
hadn't
leash.
thought of that. That's a good idea.
Only if they're on leash. But, yeah, so
You just like stirring the pot over there, don't you, bud? You got anything else you wanna bring up, Mike?
my whole thought process is that, if we have a pretty good idea where we want to be, we can outfit the building now to make sure we can accommodate that, rather than going back. it frustrates me going to town meeting and asking every year for more money for something that
Yeah.
isn't getting done. And I don't wanna have to go back in 5 years and say, hey, now we wanna do this to the building. I don't wanna be that guy
No.
anymore. I wanna get this done, a clear path forward, some kind of a vision where we wanna be, and plan accordingly for it and get the building so it will accommodate that.
Yep.
I would almost always err to your expertise on this. I mean, I have my areas that I'm good at, and the recycling center is certainly not one of them, and I think you do an exceptional job there, so.
Appreciate
I mean, I would value whatever you feel is the best move forward. You haven't shown me a reason in your entire tenure to believe otherwise, so.
Yep.
You know, I think you do, so
Well-
I'd err to your opinion.
Well, I mean, the recycling part of it is, yeah, I'm fine with that, but, you know, it's a decision you have to make, whether you want to do some combination of departments, how you want to move forward, that's,
I don't, well, we've talked for years about whenever our road commissioner retires, or
Right.
whatever he does, moving it over there anyway, just,
Right.
you know?
I think just centralizing the operation into one location and getting it out of every little nook and cranny in town
Yep.
would
I
help.
agree.
I think
Exactly.
the first thing is just get the building designed,
Right,
which should be a fairly simple maneuver, and then, do we general it ourselves?
Do we, what did you, I didn't,
Do we general contract
Do the
the place
general
ourselves?
contract.
Do we arrange for the building to be torn down with a contractor? We arrange one of those two companies that were recommended
I
to,
think we'd want a GC to,
Yeah.
I think we could have definite input on the ground, but I think a GC is the way
Yeah.
just for organization as far as
yeah,
that.
we have some talent in town.
We can give them a time frame, and, because ideally, I wanna try to do something like this late in the fall.
Yeah.
When the
Yeah.
pressure's kind of off.
Oh, sure.
Because we're gonna have to close half the parking lot. We're gonna be, at half capacity for, patrons coming in and out.
I got no idea what you're gonna do.
You want a GC or a clerk of the works? I mean,
I have, however we wanna word it,
Yeah.
just someone that's overseeing it and making sure the wheels stay turning. We
Yeah.
don't wanna be,
Yeah.
held
Yeah.
up because a package of bolts didn't show up,
yeah,
that type of thing.
yeah, clerk of the works might be
We- yeah.
less, a little,
This
Wait,
like
less
construction
expensive.
manager you
Yeah,
talking?
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
talent in town.
Yep, I agree with you.
But I mean, it's pretty easy to break the project up into phases, I mean,
Yeah,
HVAC,
Totally.
electrical, make sure the plumbing, I mean, the building's gotta go up one way or another before you can even address that stuff.
exactly.
The big thing is we need to stay operational during it, so we're gonna have to have some kind of a temporary power source or power setup.
Yeah.
To be able to keep running the compact, because the rest of the facility can go dark. We can get a porta potty, we can make the rest of the facility work without that, but, temporary three-phase service sounds daunting to me. And I don't know if anybody's addressed that in any
Well-
scope with the engineering or anything.
I'm not sure if you sink a oversized pole, then run the three-phase over to the pole away from the building,
Yeah,
and then wire it temporarily, the three-phase, just for your contractors and whatever power you might need for your office or anything.
yeah.
It wouldn't be temporary, it would be the permanent service.
Yeah. That would be, that's all part of layout, I guess, engineering to a certain degree.
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Yep, somebody with a
The,
sharper pencil than me.
Yeah, the initial electrical engineering, I'm not questioning their abilities, but it just seemed like awful overkill. what
I
we-
was gonna hand that out today to
Yeah.
show people
I
a
think.
lot of work had been done on that.
So just for the record, we've done a lot of work, we've had a lot of engineering done.
Yeah.
My thought today was, I wanted this to be more of a organic
Mm-hmm.
kind of conversation, not looking backwards at what we've looked at that we may not even use.
Right.
I want to look forward and try to get some ideas of where.
You don't think that information that was
I think it will-
previously gained could be used?
I think it will, but not right now.
Got it.
This right here is just kind of a back and forth, let's try to get some kind of a direction going. And, where's the select board looking at, what's the select board's feelings on, how to move forward, and where do you want us to go forward? The work group was a good group of dedicated people, but it really got to that point when we were trying to answer the second question posed to us.
Right.
We really needed some kind of guidance, and some idea of where you wanted to take the town, what direction you wanted us to go.
Well, you've gotten us thinking about that, frankly. And I think your ideas on it pretty solid.
I agree.
Maybe invite one of those companies that were recommended by the architects, TAPCO, or they seemed to like, was it TAPCO?
I think so, that was one of
Yeah.
them, yeah.
So like I said,
And their
I'm
designer.
interested in flexibility,
Yeah,
so it can move and grow and change as we change our minds
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
into the future.
There'll be certain parts of it we're gonna have to do regardless, because it's new structure, so we're gonna have to have sprinklers and that type of
Yep,
thing.
yep.
And, there was never no heat in there or insulation, because you had 130 degrees of incinerator going all the time.
Right, yeah.
You didn't need it, but, it's
Then they had the
always
wa-
10 degrees colder in there than it is outside, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
waste
how-
oil,
Oh, yeah.
the waste oil furnace.
Yeah,
and,
that type of
yeah.
thing. So, it just seems like now's the time to, if we're gonna redo this building, let's get the electrical correct, so it's workable, so we have outlets where they belong. Let's get
So-
some water bibs where they need to be, that type of thing.
So if it has a sprinkler system, it's going to either need to have antifreeze in it, or it's going to have to be heated, or you're going to be, you're going to have sprinklers when you don't want it.
or,
There's gonna be a certain amount of heated area, necessary, that type of thing now, yeah.
Yeah.
We're turning the page, we're gonna have to make this investment one way or the other.
So we had talked about putting electric solar panels, maybe they should be heating solar panels on the roof,
Maybe something
make
like
it
that.
more efficient.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's just, with adding sprinklers and other things and increasing the footprint, we gotta keep some kind of a monetary cap. I'm all about keeping this within a reasonable rebuild as far as that.
So you might want to have some thought about the pitch of the roof, so that it faces this way instead of that way, so that you can add some kind of solar to it.
Yeah. We had, the way the sun comes across, for the most part, and the flatness of the roof almost makes it a good.
Well,
spot.
and it also has to be engineered for the extra weight of
Right.
solar stuff on the roof. So
Which may be an easier process now, where we're gonna put a complete building up there. You can just
Yes.
specify it from the start,
Yes,
rather than trying to retrofit what we
We
have.
also have to have a place for all the batteries.
yep.
yeah.
They have to get attached to the solar panels.
Well, no, what we were talking about is,
Oh, for the heat, yeah.
so a
Yeah,
grid
okay.
supply. But if we're going to be viewing heat, I mean, there are several different versions of that, hot air, hot water.
Yeah.
But it needs to be able to support the weight of the panels, and it needs to be facing in a general south direction, so.
I'm not even sure if like geothermal's a consideration, to do something like that next door, because
Yeah.
it's not like we need it 70, 80 degrees in there.
Yeah.
You need a comfortable working temperature, 55 to 60, whatever it is. Just need to keep it from freezing inside there. Maybe a geothermal setup is even an easier solution.
It has an fairly high initial payout,
Yeah, it's
but
very-
it pays
very
itself in the
expensive.
long run.
Yeah.
And maybe
Long-term cost.
less future maintenance, that type of thing. There's
Yeah.
considerations for
Cool,
that type
too,
of thing.
don't they?
You don't really hear about that anymore, though. That was a
Yeah.
really big push on that for a long time, and,
Because they got rid of the tax incentives.
on
Well, it's
geothermal.
because the air heat pumps have become so,
Yeah.
they've become very efficient now, so.
Yeah,
We're gonna be heating a large open area, though, that's the thing.
Right, yeah.
We can divide a work area out of it, like a workshop area with some kind of a freezer curtain or whatever we wanna do.
Yeah.
And have a more dedicated heat source in there, and then have the rest of it, like, supplied by however we choose to do it.
There's a lot going on, solar-assisted heat pumps. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on right now that we need to look into.
Is cooling an issue in the summertime, Chuck? Like, does that place get?
It gets
Well,
hot, but
alright.
we can crack every door open in there, and I have a
And you-
couple of really large, like 4-foot fans on the floor.
Alright, so you
And
are-
It just
that's-
moves there pretty good.
That's easier than the heating
Yeah.
aspect.
The heating's the big concern,
Okay.
more than cooling. Yeah. And we have dedicated areas the crew can go to that are air conditioned, so that,
Yeah.
as far as personnel goes, they're always taken care of as far as that.
Well, that geothermal usually does both heats and cools.
Yeah,
That would-
my big thing is just, an economical way of maintaining a certain temperature in the main building.
Yeah.
Due to the size of it,
Yeah, it's easier and cheaper to maintain.
Well,
Try to
the place I worked at before I worked here, they decided to put the gas tunnels down through it at one point, and the amount of propane that was used to maintain that large garage was crazy.
Was
So
that the
like
place up at Cook's Corner?
Yeah, that was
yeah.
nuts when they did that. They had these big old electric blowers that they complained about, and then when they put the propane in there, they really cried. Because, that was just to maintain a working temperature. That wasn't
Right.
like, that was crazy. But, you know, I think, you know, of course, we want to look at efficiency, that type of thing moving forward. But that's all, you know, part of getting a good GC and having a decent architect help us guide us through some of these things. Those people seem to know what they were talking about the other day, so.
Yeah, we met with a mechanical engineer for the emergency services
Yep.
building last week.
Yep.
A lot
It
of-
sounds like they have access to the right people, so
They do,
that helps.
yeah.
Yep.
So, I think that might be the next step is to sit down with the architects, with the working group, and you do your
So
wish
we'll
list.
have to do a work scope with the architect for that project.
Yeah,
Kind of just say, hey, this is what
Yeah.
we'd like to be able to use this building for,
yeah,
and how do we accommodate for heat and, you know, ventilation and all
exactly.
that stuff.
And-
Yep.
And they seem interested in helping.
Yep.
All right?
I think we have some guidance. It sounds like you're, as a group, are in support of moving in
Yeah.
a certain
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think we are.
Okay.
Flexible and efficient, those are
Yeah.
the
Yep.
two catchwords.
And keeping it affordable,
Yeah,
the whole project.
Yeah, I think we can do better than what was,
I do too.
I think we do a lot better.
Even if we're at the same amount, we'll get everything we need in the new building, as far as.
Without going back to the drawing.
Because
yeah.
we were omitting things from the initial plan to keep it under a certain monetary scope. We were
Yeah.
eliminating heat, we were eliminating, you know, we eliminated things to try to make it continue to work as the cost kept going up. So we were basically gonna end up with a building with an extension cord and a 110 outlet, you know, at some point, if we kept going that direction, you know, and we don't wanna do that, of course.
Well, that building, of course, that was built for a completely different, I mean, incinerator and recycling everything individually. And we've morphed into what it is, and the building wasn't really designed for what we're using it for.
Yeah.
Now's the time to think a little bit about it, and I think you're on the right track,
Sounds good.
so.
All right. So,
We'll
Proceed.
work on getting the architect to put together kind of a work scope that can be considered by the select board, and that would be meeting with your committee or with you on a somewhat regular basis to develop something more detailed, because it does
Yep.
say in your mission statement that more detailed planning will take place throughout 2026.
Right.
So I think you're getting some guidance and feedback here, and it's time to bring a professional in to kind of
Yeah.
work with you on developing.
Well, it sounds like we've answered question 1, and we've answered question 2 that was posed to the work group that we currently have.
To look at options, I think it
Yeah.
said,
It-
for a
it-
multi-use facility.
Right, and I
Yep.
think we've kind of answered question 2 at this point, to a certain degree. Does that sound right?
yeah.
Yeah.
What you asked of us?
Yep.
So do you want me to maintain the work group as a work group, or do you want me to cut them loose?
Well, it says that the group would work on these kind of final detailed planning, that piece, and then there would be a final report and recommendation.
oh,
But are you scrapping this whole thing now?
well, maybe we'll get together with the architect and get their ideas, and then
Take it
bring the
from there.
working group in.
So get some kind of a plan formulated, bring the working group together, present that to them.
Yes.
And then do,
let them pick it apart.
and then do an overall
Critique of it.
critique, break it down, get it fine, kind
Yeah.
of finished the way we want it, and then do the overall recommendation moving forward.
I think so.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yep.
I just don't want to keep, these guys have been great, hanging, hanging around. We've been kind of in limbo here for the
I know.
last 4 months.
But,
And I
Time to
don't want to,
go.
I don't want to keep them, you know, hanging out and not
Yep.
having something to do, so.
nope, it's time to move.
And for my part, I've been wondering what you were doing, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Was
well,
that
we
your
we're
part?
waiting for an election and
So
we're
here we
waiting for
are.
a few other
Been a long
things.
time wondering.
I figured you guys had it all under control, and I just didn't worry.
Well, I like to get a little bit of a rubber stamp from you guys, you know, I
Yep.
mean, you know,
It's not out of control, we just,
Yep.
we gotta get a handle back on it.
we just need to get it back on track as far as
Yeah.
that, but I think we have, I think
you got a
right
plan
now,
going forward.
I think we have a better direction right now than we
Yeah.
had initially started the whole.
I think stuff should start happening quicker now. Once you meet with an architect, you get a design, pop
it'll-
it
I
up, you
think
get a
it'll help.
working group, you get an opinion on it, then we're headed places then at that point.
They took a lot of notes and took a lot of pictures.
Good.
I like to have them over, they mentioned coming while we're in the middle of a daily operation, and they wanted to, you know, kind of see how
What a
things
good idea.
work and what we do as a team next
Yep.
door to a normal day. So I think that was a good recommendation, so.
Yep.
Yes.
Unfortunately, We meet with them on Thursdays.
So while we're open.
Well, they're open
we're
now on
so
Thursdays.
Oh,
Today's our
right.
last one, so.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the public knows we're open on Thursdays after today. But, yeah, I think that would help, for them to be there, see what goes on as far as that.
Yeah.
I think, as far as recycling and our capabilities, nothing's gonna change there. If anything, it'll just be enhanced and easier for the staff moving forward, no matter what we do. The whole idea is kind of focusing a little bit on how can we accommodate adding extra services into that building. And I think we have a clearer outlook now. We'll build it out to be able to entertain that in the future. I think that's the best way to move forward.
Absolutely.
All right.
Very good.
Everybody good?
Yeah.
Yeah? Good. All right.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you.
Too much dry.
Good job.
No, wait.